We all know that there are two types of belief systems in the world: monotheism and the polytheism. Monotheism is belief in one God. Polytheism is belief in many gods. Now, I'm going to talk about the difference between monotheism and another type of belief that is prominent in the East, called non-duality or Advita philosophy. This is the foundation or the basis of Hinduism, of the Chinese philosophy of life, the Taoism, and even the Buddhism. Monotheism in its common usage means that there is a supreme being out there and I'm here. The supreme being is controlling the nature and its inhabitants, which includes me, you, this, that, and everything else. The potter is making the pots and breathing life into them. At its core, this is monotheism. There is a division between the two. The one that's up there and the one down here, they cannot be one. This is the fundamental belief of most of the monotheistic beliefs. Whereas the non-dualist approach is based on an entirely different model of the universe and its functioning. Although monotheism and non-dualist approach appear similar, at their core, they're fundamentally different. This is based on an idea that there is a supreme being. Still, the non-dualist is based on an idea that there is a supreme being out there, but the supreme being actually became what we call the universe. In other words, that what we call God is actually acting as the universe and its inhabitants, including the plants, animals, birds, flowers, rivers, and rocks. There is no distinction between the observer, which is a supreme being, and the observed, which is the universe. So both are the observer and the observed are actually one manifesting in many forms. In other words, the one in reality is not separate from the many. All Oriental philosophy is based on this. And realizing this by way of an inner experience was variously called as self-realization, salvation, enlightenment, satori, Zen, and so on. Now the question arises, why would that one supreme being become many? What's the reason for that? And now imagine this, there is a big bang where the one became many. And before that happened, there was nothingness. There was no perception of time. There was no space because there was no one to experience anything. You need an observer to experience an observed. But when there is no such thing, there is nobody to observe. There was nothing to observe. In its unmanifested state, there was neither an observer, there was neither an observed. But when the primordial unmanifested potential, which the Vedas, ancient Hindu texts called Brahman, decided to manifest, an observer and the observed emerged. A life form and the universe emerged. The life form is the observer, the universe is the observed. Now these two, because they were a product of the one unmanifested potential in the beginning, are always in a symbiotic relationship with each other. For instance, when we ruin nature through our acts, the nature intuitively reacts and retaliates. We can see this. When we introduce DDT into water, the DDT not only killed the insects and the roaches, it also killed the fish that we eat. And through that, we started consuming DDT. And if we protect nature, the nature in turn protects us, because fundamentally, both us and the nature are one continuum. This separation of the life forms, the plant, the animal, the bird, the flower on one side and the universe on the other side, was the first polarity that was created. And why would this polarity get created? Here is the most common explanation that has been accepted in the East as well. Through each one of its observers, the universe looks at itself in a different way. For instance, I am a work of nature. I am the works of the universe, and I'm looking at the universe through my eyes. The earth form is looking at the universe through its way of perception. The bird is looking at the universe in a different way. The dog is looking at the universe in a different way. So through all these different experiences, the universe experiences uniquely through the eyes of all these life forms, and it gets a kick out of that. Now, to experience what it is like to be in that original primordial state where there was no space, there was no time, there was no observer, and there was no observed, is a state where there was no polarity. It was one unmanifested state called non-dual state. This state was called realization of the self, or the Zen state, or the Buddha nature, however you want to call it. Now, why is this understanding of what is monotheism and what is non-duality important? There is a fundamental difference in how we treat our fellow inhabitants of nature, not just the fellow human beings, based on not just the fellow human beings, but everything that's out there. Do no harm to others attains a whole new meaning. Do no harm to nature attains a whole new meaning, because we see that at a fundamental level, we're all not separate. This is non-duality, as opposed to monotheism.